Jimmy Hoffa and Tony Provenzano allegedly feuded in federal prison in Lewisburg in the 1960s. Hoffa had long been regarded as Provenzano's mentor, and it was widely assumed that Hoffa hoped to mend fences with Tony Provenzano to aid Hoffa's drive to reclaim power. But could Anthony Provenzano be responsible for Jimmy Hoffa's disappearance? Stay tuned. Anthony Provenzano.
What was he?
Anthony Provenzano, also known as Tony Pro, was an influential member of the Genovese crime family's New Jersey faction. Tony Provenzano was well known for his association with Jimmy Hoffa due to his position as International Brotherhood of Teamsters, president for Local 560 in Union City, New Jersey. He was linked to the Hoffa mystery because when the Teamsters boss went missing on July 30, 1975, he was on his way to a Detroit meeting with Tony Provenzano, then president of Teamsters Local 560 in New Jersey. Hoffa's body was never discovered. Tony Pro's life story was later used in the 2019 film The Irishman.
Great movie.
The Irishman exemplified the power and influence that people like Bufalino, Hoffa, and Tony Provenzano wielded in the 1960s and 1970s. Events did not play out precisely as portrayed in the film. Jimmy Hoffa. Jimmy dropped out of school at 14 and began working as a stock boy for Frank and Cedar Dry Goods and general merchandising. In 1932, he began working as a loader for the Kroger Food Company. After being fired from Kroger for rabble-rousing, he became a joint council organizer for Local 299, part of the Detroit Teamsters Joint Council 43 in 1936. It was the beginning of a turbulent union career. In the mid to late 20th century, he faced the American labor movement. Subscribe to the channel if you'd like more of such videos. There is a lot on the track, there's more to come. Tony Pro's role in Hoffa's disappearance. Hoffa, 62, vanished on his way to a meeting with a trio of mob figures in Bloomfield Township, Michigan. The firebrand Teamsters boss was last seen in the parking lot of the Match's Red Fox restaurant on the afternoon of July 30, 1975, after clashing with his former allies in organized crime over a possible return to the Goliath Union's presidency. He was getting into a maroon Mercury Marquis driven by the son of Detroit Mafia Street boss Anthony "Tony Jack" Jacallone. Hoffa's calendar showed a lunch meeting with Tony G, Tony P, and Lenny S at the Red Fox, a popular fine dining establishment 20 miles from Hoffa's Lake Orion summer cottage. Tony Jacallone, Hoffa's longtime mafia handler, was known as Tony G. Tony Provenzano, Tony Pro, a former close friend of Hoffa's who had become a bitter enemy, was known as Tony P. Lenny S. was Tony Jack's liaison to Hoffa and Buffer for all his union affairs. Little Lenny Schultz, a high-ranking mob associate, labor consultant, and Tony Jack's liaison to Hoffa and Buffer for all his union affairs. Hoffa's meeting with Provenzano. According to some sources, Schultz assisted Jacallone in arranging for Hoffa to meet Tony Provenzano the day he disappeared at the Red Fox. Hoffa and Tony Provenzano were feuding over lousy blood from their time in the Lewisburg Federal Penitentiary. Hoffa needed Provenzano's help to reclaim the Teamsters, and he asked Schultz and the Jacallone, who was related to Tony Provenzano through marriage, to help him settle their feud. Why does the government hate organized crime? They don't like competition. According to the FBI's reconstruction of the Hoffa murder, Tony Provenzano called the so-called peace conference with Hoffa and ordered his assassination. Tony Provenzano denied ever being in Detroit at the time and appeared to go out of his way to maintain an airtight alibi. On Hoffa's disappearance, Provenzano was visibly absent from his New Jersey home. Tony Jacallone and Howard Schultz did leave each other's side all day on July 30, 1975, when they were about 5 miles south of the Red Fox, where they were supposed to meet Hoffa. Hoffa once said, "This guy Provenzano is insane." The two men clashed in the prison mess hall in August 1967. Tony Provenzano was apparently heard screaming, "Old man," as they were separated. "Yours is on its way. You know it's going to happen one of these days. You're going to be mine." Doubts surrounding the death. There was never any serious doubt about why he was killed. and there is less doubt about who committed the murder. What happened to the body has perplexed investigators and, not surprisingly, his family and friends. He was arguably the most famous trade unionist in American history and certainly one of the most contentious. It is widely assumed that the mob assassinated Hoffa because he wanted to make a comeback and reclaim the presidency of the largest union in America, a position he had relinquished when he was sentenced to prison in 1967 for fraud and jury tampering. His return was something the mob did not want, and they planned accordingly. This brings us to the video's conclusion for today, and also marks the point at which you become aware that if there is a noteworthy event, Secret Buzzer will almost certainly cover it. With that out of the way, here is yet another epic, true story about Anthony Provenzano, the popular Tony Pro. We conduct an in-depth analysis of his powerful caporal within the New Jersey faction of the Genovese crime family.